All right. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, there it is.
This shit's fire.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another live Pen to Gas podcast. And it's an absolute honor today to sit down with my good buddy, Captain Hurley. But before we get into that, this episode, you already know, is sponsored by Bison, right? She knows it, and many of you can contest. Why buy an off-the-rack suit? It's not going to fit you 100% correct. Well, for the majority of us, it's not going to fit you 100% correct. Let's just be honest. And what happens is when it don't fit you the way it's meant to fit, it hinders your body position, your riding style, everything. And you won't even notice it until you get a properly fitted custom suit from Bison. So I need everybody to go to bisontrack.com, start your order, right? You can pick a full custom suit, tailored, measured, made just for you. You can get the chest protector, the underlayers, get you a set of matching gloves while you're at it. Let's go, right? You pick the colors, you pick the style, you pick the patches, you pick the logos, wherever you want your name on. You get the water hump, the non-water hump, whatever it is you choose, right? Whether you're a track day junkie, a street rider that's looking to get into track days, or just a street rider that wants to be as safe as possible, look no further than bisontrack.com. So let's get into it. Welcome to Pen to Gas, Captain Hurley.
Hello. And even on that topic, totally can speak on that. I remember I bought my very first suit. It was like secondhand or whatever. And my mom always had to help me get into it because the shoulder pads would roll inside the suit. So there was this whole like process happening. And the first time I got a custom suit, I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. So totally can speak on that. Not sponsored.
Yeah. It's a night and day difference. You know, okay, listen, I'm gonna be honest. I don't have my full custom suit yet, but it's on the way and I can't wait to show it off to everybody. Listen, there's only been a very few people that I actually showed the picture to, and I'm over the moon. I can't wait for everybody to see, and I can't wait to finally put on what a real proper suit feels like, right? With the gloves and all that good stuff. But yeah. Listen, Captain, I love it, dude. Absent. So me and you've known each other for we've known each other for quite a while now.
Yeah, I think at least a year now. I saw February when I was scrolling through our chat trying to find the link. So
yeah. So I had this. I use obviously StreamYard, but there's this Facebook update that happened. When it did, it actually kicked this podcast that I already created and two other ones. So when you sent me that, I looked at my phone. I'm like, where's the link to the podcast at? Oh no. So I had to recreate a whole new one. And when I got to my computer, it had a thing that popped up, said Facebook at blah, all this, whatever. But we're here and we're going. And I see you're sitting outside right now. So tell us where you are.
Well, right now I'm sitting in a campground in Montana. We're just wrapping up our tour. So I'm in picturesque, beautiful, like ranch style mountains. It's just mountains everywhere. It's crazy. So it's wonderful. It's been a dream. It's stupidly hot outside, but the shade is where all the mosquitoes take refuge, and unfortunately it's where I got to take refuge too. So that's where we're at.
I love it. So listen, we got so much to talk about. We got an hour to do it. We're not going to be able to touch base on everything, so you guys stay tuned for a part 2. But anyway, so let's get into it. Captain, where did your journey start for Two Wheels?
Well, okay. When I was in school, I was a total nerd. I refused to talk to anybody. I didn't do any of that stuff. But I played a bajillion different instruments. This has a reason, I promise. I played a bajillion different instruments in school. I played 27 different instruments or something like that. Because I always wanted to be the cool kid, in air quotes. You know, I thought that at the time that was cool in the status quo for being a band geek. And then my mother actually met a gentleman who was an MMA cage fighter, and she was a personal trainer at the time. And his whole dream was he wanted to race motorcycles. So he started racing. And then the first time I saw it, I was like, this is so cool. This is what I need in my life. This is what's going to make me the coolest person on earth, you know? So I actually got started in motorcycles because I thought it was going to make me cool. And I thought it was going to be awesome. And I would be the most popular person in the world because I rode motorcycles. And it's been an amazing, like, transformative experience for myself, even coming out of road racing, moving into the dirt world and flat track and everything else. It's been a wonderful just process for myself, as well as like the community and the people that follow me. So it's been rad.
It's absolutely rad, man. I ain't heard that word in a long time, right? It's like all the old school words are coming back in use now. My son even said the other day, like, what did you just say? He's like, Dad, that is so rad. And I was like, you know what? It is rad. I heard that in a long time, but yeah, this is awesome. So your first motorcycle, what was your first motorcycle and how, growing up, obviously it's probably dirt as a younger child, like all of us, but how did that transition into road racing?
I actually started road racing. So when I was in high school, right, and I had seen my stepfather go forth and race motorcycles, and I worked at the racetrack, I was like, I need this in my life. And I made this huge, like, as an ADHDer, it became my hyperfixation of like, I need to do this right now, full stop. Like, this is what's happening. And my mom, oh, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. My mom was like, a full stop. You can only get a dirt bike or you can only get a motorcycle after you graduate college. So I kind of made a deal with her, and that's what I followed through with. I was like, I'm going to get straight A's in college. I'm going to get this motorcycle. Like, this is what's got to happen. And somehow my stepfather talked to my grandfather, and collectively those two went and got me a Yamaha R3 to surprise me with for my birthday when I turned 19, despite the fact that I had not, in fact, finished college yet. So I had to finish college before I could take it to my first track day with Czars at DCTC, and it was like love at first sight from there. So I actually started straight on the track. I think I only rode on the street once because I was so gung-ho about riding motorcycles. My grandpa was like, we got to make sure she can ride a motorcycle first. So he took me out to Welsh Village in Minnesota to go up through, like, they call them the twisty 60s, Highway 60. And I just remember being so stoked about it. I had no concept of, like, don't do dumb stuff on the street, total bad rap. And I just took off, and I remember I was waiting for my grandpa at the end, and he's like, what were you thinking? Like the full meltdown. He's like, you can't do this. And so I moved straight to the track from there and started racing with the CRA up in Brainerd.
Nice. Brainerd. That's Moto America just left Brainerd. That's good stuff. So what when you first got into racing, how long did you race for, and why did you leave road racing?
I was only in road racing for like collectively 2 years. I started, my very first season was 2019, and we all know how that went. So there really wasn't a 2019 season. I think I did 2 weekends for my like showing, if you will, my first official entry into racing. And I did pretty okay. And I remember like really wanting to throw down because I remember being so excited about racing. I was like, I got to make this my life. And if I do really good, then I'll get spotted and I'll go pro and whatever, what we all think when we're new riders. So I threw down for my first full novice season of the year, and I ended up getting 4th overall, and I bumped to expert, and nothing crazy happened. I didn't like go factory or anything like that. And so I raced my expert season. I did probably 3 weekends, and there was just a lot of factors happened that kind of transitioned me from road racing into the dirt world. The first was like, my friend was like, Catherine, if you want to get really good at road racing, you got to start riding dirt bikes. So I did, and I bought my first dirt bike, and that was its own story and adventure. But then I was trying to get more racers into the CRA, and I was bringing a lot of new riders in. And one of the things that happened was we actually had a couple of Weir racers come in, and we had like an R3 was racing a bunch of SV 650s and was pulling away on a straightaway. So we hosted a protest for the fact that a novice R3 shouldn't be racing SV 650s. It's in the rule book. But then also an R3 shouldn't be pulling away from SV 650s in a straight line. So that protest was actually thrown out for no logical cause other than club politics. So that kind of helped me not want to be in the road racing world anymore. There was a lot of other factors involved also. There was a lot of the standard like sexism, and there's always people that support it too, but it was just like the whole vibe it felt like it was really going downhill for me personally. And I just moved into the dirt world, and frankly, it's less expensive, so that helps too.
Listen, 110%, it is a lot less expensive, but that's just talking about road racing in general. That's one of my not just me, it's everybody's pretty much pet peeve when it comes to that, is the politics in it, right? It's sometimes it seems so unfair because the way we see it being on the other side of the people doing the rule calling or making the choices, it is unfair. And it's unfortunate, and that still goes on with all the sexism going on in the sport, like women don't belong here and this and that. I've heard it, and it's absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. And I tell everybody this, Captain. I'm used to calling you Catherine, but Captain, that's why I keep looking at Captain. Is a woman to me on a motorcycle, whether it's dirt or a street or track, you guys have more finesse. And what I mean by that, it's like it's more natural, right? Where when you watch a man on a motorcycle, we force it because we're big and bad and strong, and we gotta, you know what I'm saying? You guys are absolutely amazing at everything you do. We learn so much from women all around the world. And anybody out here that's going to sit here and say they've never learned anything from a woman in road racing, I'm going to call bullshit right now, because that's absolutely not true. So yeah, I understand that. It's unfortunate. Maybe one day you might throw that custom suit back on and get out there on the track.
Maybe. I very much, I've been out of it for a couple years now, and every time we live quite literally now, I've moved to Southern California. We're on the other side of Button Willow Raceway. So literally I can ride my dirt bike over the mountain and we're at the racetrack kind of situation. And it's like, you hear all the bikes every weekend, and it's kind of like, man, I do miss it. I do miss riding. I would probably consider doing some track days again, but I don't know if I would go back to racing. But it still calls every once in a while. I sit there and I think,
Captain, come to me. Captain, come over here, Captain. Let's go. Let us show you the ways of the Force.
I was just over there.
Yeah, I know. Right? I just left. Well, come on back. It's okay. We got you. Yeah, it's. I would love to see you back, even for track days. It's riding in the dirt is absolutely. Listen, anything two wheels. I always say this: when you're riding, you're having what? Fun. And that's the whole point. Exactly, right? And there comes to a time to where you're out there, and sometimes you don't always have fun all the time, right? But that's where your love outshines your kind of bad time. And it's a mental game, just like the dirt is, the street, the track, right? It's such a mental game. So leaving road racing, congratulations. Leaving road racing, getting into this whole dirt thing, the Leaky Mushroom Moto Ranch. Let's get into that. All that. How did all that come into play?
So, back to that friend that was like, Catherine, if you want to get good at road racing, you got to get good at dirt bikes. So I went and I bought an old 2008 TTR 230 with my stimulus check that everybody got. I was like, money, what am I going to do with it? Dirt bike. So I went and bought TTR 230. I didn't tell anyone that I did, because one of the things that was going on at the time was, while I was in road racing, people were telling me that the only reason I was doing good was because I had a team behind me. So I had this feeling that I just needed to do something for myself in the motorsports world. I had to prove it. So I didn't tell anybody I got a dirt bike. And I went out with my friend and I crashed 7 times in a mile. I sunk the bike underwater. I popped the chain, and I eventually blew the motor on a TTR 230. Turns out you need to put oil in those things. So, so since then, it has been an incredible learning process for myself, because now looking back on it, it's true. I was kind of entitled and a little bit spoiled with the fact that I did have a bunch of people helping and supporting me. And going forth on dirt bikes on my own. Like I've had to do my own engine rebuilds. I've done like 3 of them now, bottom end and top end engine rebuilds. A lot of, just I'm really hard on stuff because at the time I didn't know how to ride a dirt bike. So I was breaking a whole bunch of really vital things. And I didn't know how to do bike maintenance. And there were so many things that were going wrong because I had no idea what to do. But because of that, it forced me to get a lot more comfortable in mechanics, and it opened my eyes to the fact that I had no idea what I was doing. Motorcycle maintenance in general, and also riding a dirt bike. So I started trying to find dirt bike coaches in Minnesota or just anywhere near me. And all I could find were the Motorcycle Safety Foundation courses where you go get your motorcycle license. And all I could think was, I know how to ride a motorcycle. I just don't know how to ride a dirt bike. Like there's so many road racing coaches. Why are there no coaches teaching dirt bike techniques in Minnesota? So I started Googling and trying to find anybody. And the closest I found was Dirt-tastic out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And at the time I was based out of basically Minneapolis, Minnesota. So Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Hardwood Hills Ranch down in Missouri, and then the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which the closest was about a 19-hour drive because we had to drop down and around and back up to the Upper Peninsula. So because I came from the road racing world, I had budget because road racing is not as expensive as dirt biking. So I had the luxury of actually being able to say like, well, I just spent $10,000 on a road racing weekend. What's $1,500 to go travel for a weekend somewhere else to get coaching? So that's what I did instead. And I took a lot of clinics from a lot of different coaches, and I figured out kind of like what I liked, what clicked, what I didn't like from all these classes. And I brought it back to Minnesota. I had a lot of women starting to reach out. I started racing dirt bikes at that time, hare scrambles and enduros, and a lot of women were starting to reach out about how to ride. So I started posting on my Instagram to help those people who were asking me all those questions, and it kind of snowballed from there. And so I started the Leaky Mushroom Moto Ranch as a clinic business. And our first year took off in Minnesota, and our second year we're on tour. It's crazy. I can't believe it, honestly.
Congratulations. I found you on social media, right? Because I reached out to you. I was like, hey, Catherine, blah, 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 blah. And that's how we met. And I was like, man, this is cool, right? I want to talk about the mechanic side of bikes, right? Because everybody, I think it's very important for anybody that owns a motorcycle. I don't care if it's a TTR 50 to a CBR 1000 RRRRRR, right? Because that's what it is now. Let's just be honest. You got to be a pirate almost to say it correctly. But it's so vital to understand, hey, this thing does need oil, right? Captain will tell you from the get, right? I need oil in a filter, like, and you need to learn how to do your valve adjustments, bleed your brakes, change your brakes, proper chain slack, proper chain maintenance, suspend. It's so much, right? So the basics of a motorcycle, when you sit down and you're going to name them, right? If we went through the list, it sounds like a lot. It really does. But in the scheme of things, it's not really that much. I mean, it's not, right? So how did you get into the bottom end cranks, right? And the top ends? Because I know 90% of people out here would be like, hell no, I'm not doing that. I'd rather pay somebody or buy a used motor. Where I'm like you, I'm like, no, top end's coming off. I'm splitting the cases, training's coming out, crank coming out. Let's go, right? So how did you learn the art of motorcycle maintenance?
Service manuals. I had somebody tell me to pull up the service manual because I am really, really stubborn, and I, just like all engineers will ever tell you, I have a degree in engineering. So I love mechanics and I love digging into that stuff. So it was really easy for me to tear it all apart. I completely understood how to break apart a motor. It was putting it back together that was the problem, and it was always the extra parts. I think I sealed the bottom end 3 separate times and had extra parts at the end of it. And it was just every time would cause some sort of like frustration. And because I'm really stubborn and people try and like give subtle hints, it doesn't always go the best, as some of us know when we're hands deep in mechanics. So everybody just told me to get a service manual, and I had never heard of a service manual before. So I ended up pulling up like the wrong service manual 3 separate times. And of course, YouTube Academy is our friend. And it was quite literally trial and error. Like I said, I split the bottom end 3 separate times, and I have videos of the whole process on my Instagram. If you scroll far enough back, I put the engine into my bike 3 different times and it didn't work until it finally did. And I was on the verge of like having a breakdown each time. I was sitting there cranking it because I would hand crank it and everything worked. Nothing was leaking. Like all the signs were promising. And then finally I go to hit the starter button and nothing happened every time. So it was a learning process, definitely.
Heart broke every time you hit the start button. You're like, come on, baby. Come on, baby. And you're like, shit, I just put a brand new battery in this bike. I just had it on the charger. Now it's dead again. Now I got to charge it. Now I got to pull the motor again, drain the gas, drain the oil, yada, yada, yada. Listen, I've been there 100 million times. I was like you. So I was mechanically inclined growing up. I always liked the mechanics of everything. And so when I was in high school, back when MMI, Phoenix, Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. Well, back when I took it, you actually had to pass an aptitude test. They actually sent you a test. It was, I'm not gonna say dumb questions. They were actually brilliant questions, but a lot of it was like, you have these gears and this gear and this gear, and this one's turning this way. What's the correct order of the stuff go? Just stuff like that. And they hit me up and they was like, yeah, absolutely. They told me I had one of the highest scores. They're like, you had like your score was amazing. You're absolutely accepted. So that's where my whole, of course, growing up on dirt bikes, I learned this is how you change your oil. This is how you change the oil, right? But it was all 2 strokes then, right? This is how to change the oil. You got crankcase oil, and you got to put oil in the gas and use premix at this ratio, 50-1. You got to know that stuff. You can't just buy 2-stroke and put gas in it, because guess what? It's going to run real good for about 30 seconds. And you can be like, man, this thing's a beast. And all of a sudden it's going, done, right? You need that oil and that gas, people. But anyway, yeah, that's, and then, of course, carburetors, Catherine. It's nothing like it is today. Now carburetors are a lost art. You go to any motorcycle dealer now, I guarantee there's probably maybe one person in there that can actually work on carburetors, because everything's fuel injected and everything takes a laptop and a cord. And you got to have a dealership program. You got to have a dealership to have this certain program in order to fix your bike, right? That's how they fish, but hey, and reel you in on the dealership. I call them stealerships. I mean, I do, right? Let's just be honest. Dealerships are good, right? But it's like when you go in there, everything's just outrageously expensive. It's stealerships. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't have to explain myself. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, even you, Captain, because you're laughing. So getting into this leaky Moto Mushroom Ranch and then doing your how to get sponsorship program, right? How did this whole hey, I'm gonna start talking about and helping people obtain sponsorships. How did all that come into play?
So what had happened was, as those people were starting to reach out about help with how to ride a dirt bike and kind of the start of the Leaky Mushroom Moto Ranch, I was simultaneously working a remote packaging engineering job that I was hired for, and created a lot of content for that specific company surrounding my racing, because I was working as a remote consultant, and they had this whole campaign about like, look what we let our employees do. And shortly after I had finished an international race on a dirt bike, they proceeded to fire me and tell me that I would never make a career in motorsports. So along those lines, not only had I been fired and I had no source of income, I was trying to also start a coaching business for dirt bikes. And I knew I couldn't do it on my own. So I went out and I started talking to a lot of the local dealers. I was talking to a lot of the local restaurants, and I made a bunch of posts on the social medias, and I started signing $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 deals. We're currently working on some brand deals, kind of sort of in the works. We'll see how that goes. But all of that to say that I realized the second I stopped focusing on me and my racing, you know, like I have to win. I'm going to be so awesome. Then I'm going to go pro and people are going to start signing me. The second I made it about, I want to help other people learn how to ride a dirt bike. I want to help other people get to the top of the mountain. I want to help other people understand that they have to do maintenance on their bike. I want to help people not feel the frustration of sinking their dirt bike underwater, popping their chain on their first ride while all of their friends are sitting there pointing and laughing. Other businesses resonated with that way more than I need money. And that's not to say that individual racers can't get money to race. Look at Kevin Horney, who I helped. He signed a $10,000 deal in like the first 3 weeks of working with me, which was awesome. And then he ended up on a factory deal. And all of that came from, he just started talking about how motorcycles helped him with his self-confidence. And he wants to help other people understand that racing can help them overcome a lot of issues that they might be having. So that's just a message that he started spreading. So it's not like give up your racing so that you can make money in your sport. It's how do we take you, your story, your persona, the people who look up to you, and really like hone in on that and give you something that is beyond yourself, so that not only can you help grow your community, but then you can make money to spend on racing fees, which gives the clubs more money, which gives people like Bison who are making your suits. You can pay Bison now to buy a suit, so they have more money to donate to clubs and races, and we can host bigger and better events, and it just grows from there. So that's kind of how all of that snowballed.
That's awesome. A big shout out to Kevin Horty. He's a good friend of mine. Everybody knows who Kevin. Well, if not, you need to go to his Facebook page and like and subscribe to Kevin, because he is truly an amazing human being. He really is. Every time I see him, he gives me the biggest hug. I mean, he's a great hugger. There's a couple road races when I see Rossi Moore is one of them. Every time Rossi Moore sees me, of course, I love that kid. I love all my friends, right? But he'll come up to you, and there's huggers. Captain, you know that, right? You get a hug from somebody, then you get hugs from somebody. It's like, bring it on in, baby. You're like, this is a hug right here. I like this, right? That's my boy Rossi right there. When he hugs you, he means it, right? You feel it. Not saying that Kevin don't. I'm just saying. So yeah, that's awesome. And I gotta ask this, and I've been meaning to ask this off of camera. How did you come up with the name Leaky Mushroom Moto Ranch?
Yes,
I love it.
It's my favorite question. It's the best question in the world. So my mother and I both went through some like major life-changing events at the same time, and we ended up moving in together after I left road racing and moved into dirt biking. And right around that same time frame, we both like wanted a fresh start, and we wanted to leave Minnesota. So we were looking for properties in the like Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina area. And one day she was just walking through the woods. She had that little app on her phone. It's like Pokemon for adults, where you take a picture of a ladybug and it goes, congratulations, you got a ladybug. It puts it in like the insect tile. Now you got to get a picture of like a grasshopper and I don't know, something else, butterfly. So she was walking through the woods and she spotted a leaky mushroom. And she was like, oh, I wonder what that is. And she went and took a picture of it, and her phone went, wow, it's nothing, like it's nothing. So instead, she came back from her walk and she's like, Catherine, when we get a property, we need a trail called the Leaky Mushroom Trail, and we need to hang little mushrooms from all the trees. And then it turned into, Catherine, when we get the property, it's got to be the Leaky Mushroom Bar and Grill on the property. So I took the name and I started the Leaky Mushroom Moto Ranch as like a surprise and a thank you to my mom for all the support that she had for me during all those beginning years. And I showed it to her and I was like, Mom, look, it's the Leaky Mushroom Moto Ranch. And she goes, Catherine, you bitch. That was my idea.
And you're like, what, Mom? I thought you was proud of me.
Yep.
What is the deal, Mama? Come on now. That's awesome. I love it. She said, you bitch. What are you doing? You're like, wait, what? I love it. So we have a couple comments coming in. So Dial, dude, what is up, my man? And then Craig O'Harris, Captain. He's all the way from the UK. He's a good mate of mine. He's super fast. Fast track day guy. He says, just checking in for bed. Hey guys, what's going on? I hope all is good over the pond, dude. Yeah, absolutely. Everything is great, man. It's hot as shit here, and it's hot in Montana, where the captain is right now too, as well. Man, that's awesome. She said, "You bitch." That's crazy. I love it. That's a good story. I like it. So listen, where are we at today? You're in Montana. You're on tour. Tell us
Mhm.
what you're doing.
We're basically just hosting every single weekend. We've been in a different state, essentially. The only times we've been in multiple states we've been in the same state for multiple weekends was when we were in Tennessee. We had clinics in Chattanooga for 2 weeks, and then at Brushy Mountain we had clinics for 3 weeks. Otherwise, each year we travel from California across the Southwest, so like Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, over up to Tennessee and then North Carolina. And then we shoot up to the Midwest usually. Next year is a little different because we're hosting a hard enduro in Minnesota next year. There hasn't been one for quite some time. I don't know the actual date, but I know that it's been at least 10 years. So that's pretty cool. But that'll be in the fall. So we don't know what we're going to do in the mix, if we're going to go back to California and then come back out to Minnesota just for that event, or if we're going to swing up to Minnesota and then do our tours in South Dakota, do a race masterclass in North Dakota, do some stuff in Ohio, and scamper on over back to California. And then in the meantime, when we're not on tour, we actually have an official moto ranch. There's a real moto ranch. There's actually 2 of them. There's one in Mojave, California, and then there's also one in Agua Dulce, California. So we have on-site housing and a whole bunch of coaches, and you can like come and stay for a week and just do tours right out of the property. Or we have like the ultimate training experience. Like we have a racer, his name is Brennan Jones. He's coming out and living with us for 3 months to do like the full hardcore program. And we have a full team of coaches now, so it's not just me anymore. Now we have Nick Clare from Splat Moto and Sam Ruth and Ben Trom also. So we have the full rigmarole of like personal trainers, nutrition coaches, marketing coaches, business coaches, racing coaches, the whole works. And we have experience ranges from motocross all the way over to hard enduro hare scrambles and trials.
I love it. And obviously I was going to ask you, like it in your program, you talk about nutrition because it's a huge thing, right?
It is.
What advice do you give everybody out there that's listening or that's going to listen to this about nutrition?
Ooh, nutrition is always a hot topic. It doesn't matter what you say, it's always wrong. So we personally, okay, this is my experience and I'm not telling anybody bad. When I first started road racing, I was hardcore on the standard, like high protein, you like have 1 gram per pound that you're trying to go for. That was where I started. And it definitely did me good. That did me plenty well. Since I've moved out to California, we've moved to a plant-based, high-carb, low-fat diet. And I'm not saying like, don't eat fat, whatever. Like it's literally just minimalizing the oils, like don't cook with oil and like try not to, you can put avocado on your sandwich, but like don't eat a whole avocado kind of situation. So
I love avocados. What's wrong with avocado? I love it. That's like my favorite thing in the world to eat. I'm not even joking, Captain. You ask my wife. She bring me home 4 avocados, and I eat them like almost immediately. But all I do is I'll half it, pit it out, scoop it with a little bit of lime, maybe a little bit of cilantro, and just
dang,
go to town.
that does sound good.
It's so
that does
good.
Sound really good.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah, but what's really worked for us that's shown is this last tour we had in South Dakota. We had a bunch of riders that were running keto diets and they were training for triathlons. And the end of every single day, the 3 of us that were strictly on like super high carb for the whole weekend were still ready to rock, and everybody else was crashing because they weren't used to taking in carbs on a race day. So my advice is like, if you're going to be eating goo packs throughout the day, or your like post and pre-race snacks are like granola bars and noodles and stuff, you should be eating that stuff before the day you need to race so that your body understands how to actually process that stuff. Because if you're focusing on a high fat diet, like a keto diet, high protein diet, like a standard fitness diet, or even a high carb diet, if you then proceed to go eat like beef jerky, but you've only been eating carbs, your body's not going to know what to do with it. If you've only been eating chicken and butter and then you try and eat some rice, your body's not going to know what to do with it. So it's just a matter of like sticking to what you're doing, I think is really important.
No, it is, and this is the thing about diet, people. Not all diets are going to particularly work for you. You got
Yep.
to, this is what I tell everybody, Captain, is that I weighed 270 pounds. I was on a 40 waist. I'm in a 34 waist now. I'm about 205, right? And all I did was change my diet. Yes, you got to exercise too, but change, you got to do that, right? But change your diet. I listened what my body was telling me. Listen to what I just said. Listen to what your body is telling you. It tells you everything you need to know. You just got to listen to it, right? So, meaning, example, I just gave everybody example. You go to a Mexican joint. Everybody loves Mexican. Who don't love Mexican food, right? But you sit down, you order something, you take a couple bites, all of a sudden your nose is stuffy. That's because your body's having a reaction to something you just ate. Now, your job is to figure out what was in that made your body have that reaction and then cut it out, right? This is the key. It absolutely is the key. If you want to lose weight, you got to listen to what your body's telling you. Yes, I'm a big advocate. Anything in moderation is not going to hurt you. You want to go out and have a Coke or whatever? Have a Coke. You want to go out and get a banana split? Have a banana split, right? You can cheat and your body's going to tell you, hey, I don't like this certain food, but it's so good. You can have it, right? But you need to keep your focus and really listen to what your body's telling you. And honestly, if you do that, your body will get so used to eating nothing but what it likes and what it needs personally that when you do those little cheat days, you're not going to be happy. It's going to taste good here, but everywhere else, you're going to be like, oh my God, I feel like shit.
Yep.
Like my stomach hurts and I got to go to the bathroom and blah, 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 blah. Right. So, word of advice, listen to what your body's telling you when you eat. That's the most
Yep.
important thing. So, I've tried all kinds of diets. The keto, the one that starts with a P. I forget what it was called.
Paleo or whatever.
Yeah, not for me, right? So anyway, I'm not saying it's not for anybody. I'm just saying me personally and my personal body, the way I am, it was absolutely not. So just listen to what your body's telling you. If you do that, at the end of the day, you'll be a lot healthier. And you'll notice when you go put on your jeans, you'll be like, hold up, wait a minute. Uh-oh, who's this man in the mirror right here? Who's this woman in the mirror, right? Yeah, I mean, Captain, yeah, you know it's true, right? So it's yeah. So listen, let me ask you this. We're coming up on 40 minutes already. Oh my God, this has gone by so fast. Again, you guys stay tuned for part 2 because there's so much more I need to ask the captain. Where's your next stop?
Home, actually, California. So we're heading back to California, but so then what's happening in 6 weeks is I am actually going to be racing the Tennessee Knockout. So we're going to be driving back from California. We're heading back out to Chattanooga to do a weekend of clinics and private lessons, and then we're running the race. So, Chris, if you want to come see some carnage, it shouldn't be too far for you.
No, it's not. Absolutely not. You just text me because you got my number. Just text me the address and the dates and all that, and we'll absolutely sort it out because I would love to come out there. And this is what I say to everybody, Captain, is I love being friends with everybody, but I love it when it comes full circle and we get to physically meet in real life. That to me is like the complete, circle.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely. It'd be an absolute honor, just like it's an honor to sit down and have this chat with you. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. So listen, we're coming up on 40 minutes of this. I want to get into my favorite part of the interview. I know there's still so much more we hadn't talked about. Okay. But we'll get to it. I promise everybody we will. Listen, I have some questions. And at the end, of course, we'll give all the shout outs. Everybody can sign up for the Leaky Moto Ranch and all that cool stuff where they can sign up for your races and your programs. Let me start out with this. Everybody knows that I'm a big audiobook listener too, right? I don't read a lot of books because let's be honest, if I do, it makes me sleepy. Okay. But I listen to podcasts and music all the time, obviously. So an audiobook, I can throw it in, listen, I'm good. Do you read books, audiobooks? I already know you do. If so, what are you currently reading or listening to right now?
So, I read just about as much as I listen to audiobooks. I pretty much will read anytime I have downtime because I'm a book nerd. But then the audiobooks are usually for when I'm driving or, you know, we're on tour, you know, like what else are we going to do? I'm a big fan reading for fun. I like to read. Right now I'm reading a book by Carl Hyacin, and he is like a comedy mystery author. He's absolutely hilarious. He writes based out of Florida where my family used to vacation, so we always bought the books while we were there, you know, like the things were happening on the street that was being mentioned in the book that we were staying on and stuff like that. But it's fun schemes like the book I'm reading. They find an arm floating in the ocean, and as the investigator goes through, he finds out that the arm like wasn't eaten by sharks. It was like a little lemon shark tooth that was found in the arm, and instead there's some saw marks on the arm. And then they tried to cover it up with hatchet marks, like a full-on amputation kind of deal. So he finds out that it's an insurance fraud scam, and the guy was like trying to collect his life insurance by chumming his arm in shark stuff. That one like isn't the funniest one. There's another one where the girl, it's called Honey Santana Goes Off Her Meds. And basically, like, you know, those calls you get when you're eating dinner and they're like, you just won a vacation. Congratulations. She gets one of those at dinner time and she flips out because she's not on her meds. So she plans a full, like, fake vacation and then scams the scammer and has him come out to the island because she's trying to teach him a lesson about interrupting family dinner, you know, but he just doesn't get it. Kind of situation. He has really hilarious harebrained schemes going on in his books.
I love it. Good stuff. I just got done listening to. I listen to all kinds of books. Obviously, road racers, right? Let's just be honest. You name any road racer that's got an audiobook, this guy's got it on my phone for real. So I just got done listening to. I talk about all the time. Stuart Baker is the author, and it's Ragged Edge. It's all about the TT. He's got one on Valentino Rossi that I just got done listening to. But the book that I'm actually listening to right now is The Way of the Ronin by Two Lamb. He's a my cousin got me into. We're big gun people, right? We like to our guns, our cowboys, and all that cool stuff. So he was big into this guy. He's a I can't remember. I'm a murder U.S. Army, but in the military. Grew up overseas, had a like rough upbringing getting here, all this stuff. So I'm like, what am I? It's 11 hours and 4 minutes. I'm 15 minutes and 51 seconds into it. So I just started it, right? Actually last night. But another good book as far as non-motorcycle racing book, because I talk about and I recommend those to everybody all the time, is I love to cook. I already know, Captain, you like to cook, right? So Adrian Bourdain, Kitchen Confidential, Adventures in the Culinary. It was really good. It was one of those where I was like, I don't know if I'm really gonna like this. Absolutely amazing. It's like, oh man, I gotta listen for another chapter. Next thing I know, it's midnight. I gotta be up at 4:15 in the morning. I'm like, shit, I gotta go to bed, right? One of them type of books. So if you get a chance, you like to cook, I suggest you guys should check that one out too. So good stuff. Yeah, it's good, man. I love it. It's good stuff. Good stuff. So let me ask you this. It's kind of a broad question, right? But I'm just gonna say, who's your favorite artist in music today, and what are you listening to?
Oh no, no, no. No. Okay. I recently discovered this gentleman called Jamiroquai. I have no idea how to spell it for everyone, but I remember when I was in school and I was a band geek, my teachers always had me studying like Stevie Wonder and Tower of Power and a bunch of these like old hip like pop bands, and I absolutely loved them. And I heard Jamiroquai, and it was literally just an exact blend of the two. I was like, this is like what is hip blended with Stevie Wonder's like I don't even remember the song now, but it was the perfect mash of the two. I couldn't believe like I was hearing both at the same time. And I just remember being like, what is this? And I went to go watch the live, and it was just this like small, tiny, like white kid just running around with this big fuzzy hat. And I was like, who is this small person to have such a killer sound that like doesn't resonate with anything? And the farther you dive into everything he does, it's like even more incredible where he pulls all of his influences from and the types of sounds that he makes. Such a big sound for that person. Like, it's amazing, honestly.
I'm gonna have to check them out. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. So, next question, Captain, what's your worst habit?
I pick my lip.
I noticed that. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, I do that sometimes too, but that's not my worst habit. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I'm like, I'm go constantly. I mean, my podcast is full time job, full time husband, dad, all that stuff, right? But when I find that I do have like 2 or 3 hours on downtime, I procrastinate. It's like that one time I can be like, you know what? I got to mow the lawn. Man, I'll get to it next week. Then it's 19 foot tall. And I'm like, you know what? It'll be good. We can play hide and seek outside. No worries. We'll put it to good use, right? Yeah. No worries. So that's one of my, procrastinate when I can. It's not very often I get to do it. When I do, I clock in on that procrastination time clock real quick. Pating, I got this, baby. I'm in. Yeah.
I can resonate with that one. That one matches. That's a good one.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this, Captain. Tell us something we don't know about you at all.
I am a recently self-published author.
Congratulations.
Surprise. Surprise. I guess you knew that, but
I did.
The rest of the world probably doesn't, because I only talked about it once.
Literally, that's all I heard too, was that one time, for real. So tell everybody your book and where they can find it.
So my book is called Don't Say Sponsorship. You can find it at don'tsaysponsorship.com, and it just runs right along with that whole, like, you got to be you, and you got to have a bigger message beyond yourself. And it's all about not only how to find that for you and how to find your audience, but it's also how to actually talk to a sponsor. Because a lot of the books that I've read and a lot of the classes that I took when I was first trying to figure it out never touched on what to actually say to these people, or how to negotiate, or like why you got rejected in the first place. Nobody ever talked about any of that stuff. All I ever heard was like, here's your racer resume, like, here's your pitch deck. And it's like, that's great, but what do I say to give it to them so that they like me? Like, that's kind of what the book is about. And you can find all of that at don'tsaysponsorship.com. I think you have to put the www in front of it though. So it's www.don'tsaysponsorship.com.
You guys heard it. I don't know what you're waiting on. Go to www.don'tsaysponsorship, that's the key word.com, and get your hands on that book. Absolutely. So let me ask you this. This is kind of a broad question. What's your favorite food? Like, this is what I mean. Remember when I was telling you about the cheat meal, that one, oh, I love this, but I know what is your absolute go-to? Like, you know what? I'm in. This is what I'm doing.
I'm a sucker for fake mac and cheese.
Kraft or Velveeta?
No. So I make mac and cheese from pumpkin and cashews.
That sounds really good.
And nutritionally, yeah. So I soak some cashews in some boiling water for about 30 minutes, drain the water, put the cashews in a blender with baked pumpkin. So like I only make it in the fall. I go to the pumpkin patch and I get real pumpkins. I slice them open and I bake them. And I scoop out all the guts, put them in with the cashews, dump a whole bunch of, it's called nutritional yeast. So it's just yeast flakes. It's like fish flakes for people, but it tastes like cheese. You dump it all in there and you blend it all up, and it makes this really thick base, and you just pour that over pasta, and it's the most amazing thing in the world. I could eat it all day, every day, and I can't.
You have to send me the recipe, because that sounds really good. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna say nothing to my son, and I'm gonna say, try this and see what he says. Like, that's cashew and pumpkin, macaroni and cheese. This is what I'm gonna say. Bullshit, Daddy. I'm gonna show you how to do it. Then come on in here. Yeah, for sure, absolutely. So, do you have any tattoos?
No, I don't. I'm scared of needles, so it's okay. It's not my jamorama, unfortunately.
Okay, no, it's just a question I ask, because some do, some don't, right? I do want to ask you this though. Are you a pineapple on pizza person?
Yes. Yep. It causes a lot of fights at home. In fact, we just had pizza today, and I had to like spin the pizza tray around so that the pineapple was on my side of the table instead of his side of the table, so that he didn't have to reach across the pineapple contaminated pizza in case it like scraped his crust. You know, it was a process.
I love it. I'm a pineapple on pizza. Absolutely. It's a lot of people are like no, and I'm like, wow, I don't get it. You know, it's like it's pineapples and jalapenos. You get the sweet, you get the heat. It's oh my god, it's just making me hungry right now.
Pineapple salsa is where it's at.
With mangoes and fresh jalapenos or habaneros, yes, I'm in. With some cilantro, some fresh lime, some lemon. Girl, I can cook. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to go in here when we get done. Yes. So listen, I ask everybody, favorite comedian. Who's Captain's favorite comedian?
That's a really good one. Gosh, I don't know. There's so many. I haven't been like watching my comedians like I usually do. I used to watch Ali Wong and Eliza Schlesinger quite a lot. Two lady comedians that always just go at it about like lady stuff, which is hilarious, but most people don't understand. But lately I've just been I live off of Will Ferrell and Scott. I'm gonna botch it. Now I don't remember his name. Steve Carell. I basically live off of Steve Carell and Will Ferrell quotes. So you got that in there too. And whoever the heck runs the Trailer Park Boys, because I just watched that show for the very first time, and that's been like my comedy for a while. Yeah.
Oh, Trailer Park. Listen, Trailer Park Boys, they're from Canada, and they're absolutely freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a dry humor, but dude, the guy I forget the name. It's been a long time since I've seen it because Trailer Boy it's been out for a long time. I binge watched it. My buddy actually got me hooked on the series, and I binge however many seasons, got 10 or whatever it is. But the guy with the big thick glasses, the Coke bottle glasses, and the dude walking around the whiskey glass all the time. The whole show, this guy's got a rum and Coke or Jack and Coke or whatever it is. No matter where they are, there was at not trying to give it away, but they were at a training for like a NASA space shuttle thing, and he's in there with the thing on. Yeah, he's got his rum and Coke. It's like, yeah, it's absolutely hilarious. So let me ask you this: are you a Star Wars or Star Trek girl?
I never got into either one, honestly. I was more of a BBC kind of person. I liked them both equally. I watched a specific chapter of Star Trek. I don't remember which one it was, but it had the very like low-key opening. It's been a long road, getting from there to you. But I don't know which like one that is, what chapter of Star Trek that is, but I watched that quite a bit and I liked that a lot. And I know I've watched Star Wars, but I really like the music in Star Wars. Like that's the only thing I remember from Star Wars is how much I loved the music. So that's all I got.
It does got very good music in Star Wars. It really does. I never got into Star Trek. I was always, my brother was Star Trek. I'm Star Wars. So, but this is a question I ask. Okay, so let me ask you this: are you DC or Marvel?
Marvel, but I really like the Joker.
Okay, so basically, my point is, what I want to ask you is, what character would you be?
Oh,
what character would the Captain be?
Oh, I don't know.
She's like, these questions, you making me think right now.
I have no idea. Like, I can't play. It's been so long since I've watched any of them. I don't even know. I genuinely don't have an answer for you. I'm going to be honest.
No worries. We'll save that for the next podcast. You can think about it in our
I'll think on it.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, and of course, celebrity crush, Captain.
I've been thinking about this one. I told you when we started. I have no idea, but I've been thinking about it. It's Gerard Butler, but not from any of those shows where he has no clothes, specifically the Phantom of the Opera, where he had a mask on. You couldn't even see his face. He was like fully clothed the whole time. But I remember the very first time I watched Phantom of the Opera, I think I heard the score first. It was like the tonality of his voice when he sang. It always gave me goosebumps, the way the score and everything was played out. And it was the very first time I ever was like, opera doesn't suck.
If he's going to be in it, I can watch it.
Yeah, it was like, interesting, because it's not some like ears screeching. In fact, they actually make fun of traditional operas, which I thought was really clever and fun too. But it's like, it's magical. It's a really good movie, actually, from 2006. I highly recommend people watch it if you like music. It's a good one.
Absolutely. It is. I watched it. It's been a long time, but yes, I watched it. And as soon as you said Gerard Butler, the first thing I thought of, because it's one of my all-time favorite movies, is 300 with the
I
Spartan.
knew it.
Yes, because I'm big into the whole Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology, all that cool stuff. So yes, absolutely. Spartan. If you guys ain't seen 300, what are you waiting on? Or Phantom of
Everybody
the
says
Opera.
that.
Yeah, Phantom of the Opera is a really good movie too. It is an older movie, but I highly recommend it too. It's different. Like they haven't made a movie like that in a long time.
Yeah, and you gotta have surround sound or really good headphones when you watch it, because it makes a difference.
It's like, this is what I tell people, right? If you don't have a proper surround, you can have a proper surround sound, but if you don't have that freaking badass powered subwoofer in the corner, when something explodes, it's like boom. You're like, well, what the hell was that? You want the whole house to go. You want to feel it. You want to be part of it, right? It makes a huge difference. It does. So listen, let me ask you this. What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, dang. That's a really good one.
Coming with the questions.
Yeah, geez Louise, man.
Uh-oh. We lost her for a second. She'll be back. What is up, my man, Mark Sherman? Thank you, brother. Dustin, my man. Just bear with us for a second. She'll come back all the way in Montana. So how's you guys' day been today while we're waiting on the captain to come back? I hope everybody's day was just as mega as you guys are. And thanks again for everybody that watches the podcast and comments and likes to subscribe. You guys are absolutely amazing people. So, see. Oh. That's all right. She'll be back. There she is. All right.
I knew it. My laptop was going to die. I was moving to plug it in, and it just didn't go.
It's okay.
The advice I would give my future self, well, my past self, I would say, is to be around the people that you want to be like, I think. Because one of the big things I was really struggling with was when I first got into road racing was the group of people that I was hanging out with didn't make me like road racing. And that's not a knock on road racing. That's just a knock of like the people I surrounded myself with. And I only realized that when I left it and did a lot of self progress for myself. Yeah. I put myself in isolation, worked on myself a lot. And when I did that, when I finally started doing public things again, I was around people I actually wanted to be around, and everything got way more fun and awesome for everything. So I would say if you don't like where you're at, it's not you're not a victim. It's a circumstance of your own decisions. So try and figure out a way to make it better. What is the thing that's dragging you down? I don't know where it came from. I got it in the mail from an anonymous person, and it's a journal called The Hero's Quest, a journal for ADHDers. And one of the things it says is what are the things that are helping you today, and what are the things that are holding you back today? And it kind of forces you to self-reflect on what are the situations around you that are causing you not to progress further.
I love it. That's absolutely amazing. And Captain, this is what I tell everybody all the time. None of us are strangers. We're just friends that haven't met yet. Okay. And another thing that I tell everybody every day, it's a challenge I give everybody. Just take, whether it's 1 minute, 5 minutes, 30 seconds, stop what you're doing, because you were so busy in day-to-day life, full-time job, working on a motorcycle, right? Husband, dad, cooking, father, all this stuff, right? Take 30 seconds to a minute or 2 minutes, or if you can do 5 minutes, live in that moment. Stop what you're doing, wherever you're at, live in that moment and really enjoy it. I think if you did that, it would it'd make you happier. internally, right? Which will put out positive energy, and people will reflect off of that. They'll see that and they'll notice that change in you. And you're right, Captain, what you said. You got to pick and choose on who you really want to spend your time with, because that's something that we can't stop, fast forward, rewind, pause. Right. So you surround yourself with the people you really want to be involved with. You'll be a happier human being. Right. And everything will be a lot more fun. That's the key. Fun. Right. Listen, this has been an absolute blast. We're coming up on an hour on this. So we're going to end this. You guys stay tuned for part 2. But before we get off here, and when I end this, Catherine, just stay on with me for another minute. Okay.
Okay.
Before we end this, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, where they can come to the Leaky Moto Mushroom Ranch and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So it's easier to go to the website than it is to say it. It's just www.leakymushroom.com, spelled leaky like a leaky faucet, and mushroom like the thing that you eat, not the psychedelic ones, the regular mushrooms. Totally fine. And then the social media is at Leaky Mushroom Moto Ranch, kind of longer, but you can also find it on my profile, which is at captain.hurley, which is my little tag right here. Captain dot like a little period Hurley. So that's where you can find me and stock all the stuff is Leaky Mushroom, leakymushroom.com, don't say sponsorship.com, all that jazz.
I love it. And Dustin Richards says, no, don't end it. She's amazing. Dustin, stay tuned because we're going to have part 2 coming up
Thanks,
soon.
Dustin.
Yeah, Dustin's an absolute legend himself. Then we got my good buddy Paul McKee up in here. He races. Dustin races. Yeah, Mark Sherman from CFE, Craigo from the UK. Nothing but love to all you guys and girls. Absolutely amazing. But listen, before I get off here real quick, I can give my shout outs. Bisontrack.com. I don't know what you guys are waiting on. Again, even if, let's just say, hey, I don't want a full suit, but I really want an Alpine Star jacket or Revit jacket. Check it out. Bison Track can do you a custom leather jacket too as well. So no excuses. Bisontrack.com. Big shout out to RD Racing, my man Jake Marsh out there. He's got a club called Club 45. I need you guys to go shine up and show him all the love. He's a future super mega star in BSB. Big shout out to the Clothing Kings. So all my mates out there in the UK can go to clothingking.co.uk and get all your Pendergast merch out there in the UK. So I don't know what you're waiting on. Go there and order you a hat, a shirt, or whatever, right? Stickers, whatever you want, and it'd be much appreciated. Listen, I just got these guys on board. They are called Flying Eyes Optics. Okay. And no, this is not a paid advertisement. Okay. But check these out. These glasses, right? Look at the arms on these, right? They're the lightest glasses I've ever had, but they're made to go. Listen, Captain, you've done it too. You wear sunglasses under your motorcycle helmet sometime, right? You get a new helmet, you got the clear visor. It didn't come with a dark visor, so what you going to improvise with? You're going to put your sunglasses on, right? And your Oakleys, your whatever it is you got, you put them on underneath your helmet. It puts pressure points on your head, so you start getting headaches. You're not having fun because my head hurts. I just need something to eat, but you're really not hungry. It's because your head hurts because of the sunglasses you got underneath your helmet. So listen, I need you guys to go to the Flying Eyes Optics. You can use discount code Pendergast10 and get 10% off. They're absolutely amazing sunglasses. Matter of fact, my wife keeps stealing them from me. I need to get her a pair too. And the cool thing is you can get them in RX prescription, as I wear contacts. Yeah, you can get them prescription too. So I wear contacts. I do wear glasses, just like my girl Captain does right here, right?
Chris, I need you to send me their contact because one of the things we've been talking about is RX prescriptions inside of dirt bike goggles. So
I got you. 100%. I got you.
Got my attention now.
Yep, I got you. But listen, so I met this guy real quick, and when I went to Wisconsin for the Moto America race, me and my buddy went out to eat breakfast. Big shout out to Fuzzy. He works in Moto America. He said, man, you come here, you got to go to this place. So we ended up at, I forget the name of it. It was really good. So this guy pulls up on a motorcycle. It's a small place. I grabbed a seat. There was 3 chairs. There's 3 of us. I invite him, man, come on over here. His name is Grant. He runs big manager of there. He's like, man, we got this thing. I'm actually looking for social media and podcasters to promote these sunglasses. And I was like, dude, I'm your guy right here. Let's make this happen. So he takes me by the booth. I picked out any pair of sunglasses, any color, any style I wanted, gave me a discount code. He's like, look, before we do all this is how much I believe my product. They are made in Austin, Texas, too, and assembled in Austin, Texas. So let's go USA, right? He says, listen, do me a favor, wear them for 2 weeks. Straight up. Don't text me, don't call me. Wear them for 2 weeks. After that, you call me, you text me, you let me know what you think. And I just got to be honest, I've been hooked. Like if my wife don't steal them, they're with me at all times. That's why they're sitting right here, because I want them today coming home from work. So yes, let's go. And listen, guys, Chef Eats. You guys know who Chef Eats is out there in Moto America. He makes some of the best prep meals you can get. And everybody goes to the racetrack. They bring grills and all this stuff. Chef Eats, they're high protein. He makes you can get chicken, steak, anything you want, right? No seasoning, with seasoning. 3 minutes and 30 seconds in the mic. Listen, I'm done talking about it. ChefEast.com. You guys go check them out. When you go to Moto America, you see them everywhere anyway. And when I'm there, if I have it, I'll go around and give everybody a bite. Just like when you go to Sam's Club, right? You go there and have the little tasting thing with the little toothpicks. Yep, Chef Eats. Here you go. ChefEast.com, baby. Let's get it. So ChefEast.com. Big shout out to you guys. Listen, this has been an absolute honor to sit down with Kathleen Hurley on the podcast today. Listen, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. And thank you to everybody watching. Sorry, I don't know how to watch the comments, and I tried to respond to a couple of them, but I had to log into something. I don't know. But thank you, everyone. It's been awesome. It's been a delight. It's been truly an honor, as Chris would say.
Absolute proper mega. So listen, this episode will be out on Spotify, iHeart, all that good stuff tomorrow. But yes, I will see you guys here in the next couple of days, because I got a couple more podcasts coming up. But Captain, thank you so much. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. All right.